Nammo Phat, good morning. Thank you for joining me for a daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This beautiful sound calls us back to our true home. The first mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by the destruction of life, I vow to cultivate compassion and learn ways to protect the lives of people, animals, plants, and minerals. I am determined not to kill, not to let others kill, and not to condone any act of killing in the world, in my thinking, or in my way of life. Today we continue to read Ajahn Thanisro's book, The Karma of Questions, from his essay, When You Know for Yourselves, the Authenticity of the Pali Suttas. And this is a section, Appropriate Attention. MN2 draws the line between appropriate and inappropriate attention on the basis of the questions you choose to pursue in contemplating the Dhamma. Quote, there's the case when an uninstructed, run-of-the-mill person doesn't discern what ideas are fit for attention or what ideas are unfit for attention. This is how he attends inappropriately. Was I in the past? Was I not in the past? What was I in the past? How was I in the past? Having been what was I in the past? Shall I be in the future? Shall I not be in the future? What shall I be in the future? How shall I be in the future? Having been what shall I be in the future? Or else he is inwardly perplexed about the immediate present. Am I? Am I not? What am I? How am I? Where has this being come from? Where is it bound? As he attends inappropriately in this way, one of 6 kinds of views arises in him. The view, I have a self, arises in him as true and established, or the view, I have no self, or the view, it is precisely by means of self that I perceive self, or the view, it is precisely by means of self that I perceive not self, or the view, it is precisely by means of not self that I perceive self, arises in him as true and established, or else he has a view like this very self of mine, the knower that is sensitive here and there to the ripening of good and bad actions, is a self of mine that is constant, everlasting, eternal, not subject to change, and will endure as long as eternity. This is called a thicket of views, a wilderness of views, a contortion of views, a writhing of views, a fetter of views. Bound by a fetter of views, the uninstructed, run-of-the-mill person is not freed from birth, aging, and death, from sorrow, lamentation, pain, distress, and despair. He is not freed, I tell you, from stress. The well-instructed disciple of the Noble Ones discerns what ideas are fit for attention and what ideas are unfit for attention. He attends appropriately. This is stress. This is the origination of stress. This is a cessation of stress. This is the way leading to the cessation of stress. As he attends appropriately in this way, 3 fetters are abandoned in him: self-identity views, doubt, and grasping at habits and practices. End quote. Some of the most useless controversies in the history of Buddhist thought have come from ignoring this teaching on what is and is not an appropriate object for attention. Buddhists have debated fruitlessly for centuries and continue to debate today on how to define a person's identity, the answer to the question, what am I? Or whether a person does or doesn't have a self, the answer to the questions, am I not? The fruitlessness of these arguments has proven repeatedly the point made by this passage, that any answer to these questions leads to entanglement in the fetters that the Dharma is meant to cut away. To avoid these controversies, the passage recommends focusing on 4 truths that constitute the appropriate object for attention: stress, its origination, its cessation, and the way leading to its cessation. These truths are directly related to the question of skillfulness, which divides reality into 2 sets of variables: cause and effect, skillful and unskillful. The origination of stress is an unskillful cause, and stress is result. The way leading to the cessation of stress is a skillful cause, and the cessation of stress its result. To look at experience in these terms is to attend appropriately in a way that can help cut the fetters underlying unskillfulness in the mind. For instance, SN 5611 defines the truth of stress as the 5 clinging aggregates: clinging to form, feeling, perception, fabrications, and consciousness. It maintains that this truth should be comprehended in such a way as to lead to dispassion for the clinging. This, too, is a function of appropriate attention. Quote, "A virtuous monk should attend in an appropriate way to these 5 clinging aggregates, as inconstant, stressful, a dis-ease, a cancer, an arrow, painful, an affliction, alien, a dissolution, an emptiness, not self. For it is possible that a virtuous monk attending in an appropriate way to these 5 clinging aggregates as inconstant, not self, would realize the fruit of stream entry." Thus, end quote, thus appropriate attention entails a way of looking at the Dhamma, not only as it is presented in a teaching, but also as it presents itself directly as experience to the mind. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for joining me this morning.